All right, everyone. Welcome back to our Midnight Magic Musings channel. I am your humble host, Lord Cephas, as always, joined by the Earl of Florida. Earl, how are you?
Beautiful today.
You certainly are in rare form today, and we have a special guest. Now, we do our Combat1 Wrestling podcast. Typically, we recap the WWE or an AEW pay-per-view or an NXT special. Tonight, we have something special. We have a special guest joining us. Rodd Thunderheart, all the way from Canada, is joining us on our Wrestling One podcast to discuss his wrestling career, his experiences, and what he would let us know about wrestling, and anyone who wanted to get involved into the wrestling business. Rodd, you are joining us. Please introduce yourself. Tell us how you're doing.
How you doing?
You're doing great.
My name's Rodd Thunderheart. Let's say, well, actually, my real name's actually Rodd Forsberg, but I'm native. But the Swedish last name doesn't quite go over very well. So, and I actually just came up with. To be honest with you, I was actually really mad because I started training actually in 1993. And one of the guys on there was a guy with blonde hair, and he was a high flyer. And
what's he now?
I wonder who that could be.
Quite a notable guy by the name of, and he actually had some pretty notable feuds with another guy by the name of Lance Storm. And he went by the name Lionheart, and I was so pissed off at him for stealing Lionheart, because I wanted that name.
It's a great nickname.
Yeah, Lionheart Chris Jericho. And this was in the Rocky Mountain Wrestling in Calgary, because at this time the Stampede Wrestling had actually closed. In effect, due to Stu Hart, selling his territory off to Vincent McMahon Jr. And I'd graduated, and I was like, I want to become a wrestler, and then I went down to Calgary, and honest to God, I actually had no idea where to. I just heard of a new promotion down there by the name of Rocky Mountain Wrestling, and I thought to myself, well, I'm going to go. I basically just wound up. I moved there, and I thought I was basically just living with a friend of mine, and in his parents' basement, and anyway, I found a local job, and I just found a job just laying cable. Yes, seriously, laying cable, doing working for a seismic operation.
It pays. It's okay.
Oh, I know. The term laying cable, and everybody was like,
We don't judge here. We don't judge.
Yeah. So anyway, and I was, and I'd heard of like Rocky Mountain Wrestling, and I'd been to it a few times, and then I just like, well, what do I, who do I talk to? Where do I go? And then I found out that all the wrestlers and everybody afterwards, they hung out at a bar called Glenn's Lounge on Memorial Drive, and it was just south of Memorial Mall actually, and I remember going in there, and I bumped into sometimes he goes by Biff, sometimes he goes by Beef.
Wellington.
Yep, that's him.
Yep. No, I know who he's talking about.
Yep, he's a pretty beefy guy, and I asked him, hey, I'd like to be a wrestler. I'd like to train with you guys. And then he said, okay, well, and like, to be honest, he actually didn't sound that interested. He was just kind of well, let's see, Okay. And then like, and then I just kind of like, because I was a pretty skinny guy back then. I mean, I was tall, but like 205, 210, and like, and
How tall are you?
me, 6'3".
Okay, so that puts you a bit more into perspective. I was like, where are we? Okay, we're way up here now.
Yeah, we're down here. He's up here in terms of height. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're whooped pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I bumped. He told me, all right, well, listen, we train every. I think it was like Thursday night or something, which is the night before the card.
Okay.
And I showed up, and I don't know. I don't think I turned anybody's head. Nobody cared. Despite the fact that I could do this, I did the splits even, and in fact, I've been able to do the splits ever since 1998. When I was as soon as I saw Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport, I was like, man, and I stretch, and I did martial arts anyways, and I still do. And I stretched and I stretched and I stretched, and I finally was able to do it. In fact, I'm not as good as I used to be in terms of I used to be so good that I could actually put both heels onto paint cans, and then paint cans about like this big, right? And then I'd be doing the splits between the two paint cans, but I'd have my butt on the floor, so actually my feet were actually past a full split.
I'm crying right now on the inside.
So how long have you had this desire to hurt yourself? Because that's what I heard you just say. My goodness.
I just love the fact that people look at me and they're just like, a 6'3" dude can do the splits, and they're just kind of like.
Well, just so you know, the Earl and I'd be looking at it like, well, dang.
I mean, I could do that too, but I would never walk again. So it would be a one and done for the rest of my life. So,
my splits are only done by accident. Trust me, they were not on purpose. So if it ever looked cool, I'll take it, but it certainly was not intended to be that way. Hey, I want to ask you something about Stampede, if I could.
Sure.
So was that the main promotion that you watched growing up?
It was.
Okay, so
absolutely.
I've seen some of the late '80s stuff. So Jerry Morrow and Muck and Sing and the Cuban Assassin. We had a different one in Florida. We had Fidel Sierra, who was our version of the Cuban Assassin. A B for Biff Wellington, Chris Benoit, Bruce Hart. I remember seeing Brian Pillman.
Steve DeSalvo.
That is correct. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head since you mentioned that. The ones I knew. I know Bad News. Well, he's Bad News Brown then the WWF, but he came to Florida before that. He was Bad News Allen.
Yep, and here's Bad News Allen under Stampede, under Stu.
And if you've never Googled or YouTube Stampede, you absolutely should, because you'd be shocked who you saw in there. You'd see the Junkyard Dog back in the day by his real name, Sylvester Ritter. Honky Tonk Man. That he came from Stampede. He was Honky Tonk Wayne Ferris.
Vince snapped up a lot of Stu's talent.
Yeah, so you had a lot of stuff. Was Ed Whalen still the announcer when you were watching?
He was actually. I had experience with Stampede the second time around, because they actually, during the late 90s, I believe it was Bruce Hart finally just said, you know what, fuck it, I'm tired of Vince McMahon. He bought the territory, but then he came by once every 2-3 years tops, sort of thing. So it's just kind of well, people are just sitting around here. They're hungry for live wrestling, and fuck it, let's start it up again. So they did, and I believe it was 97 or 98. I believe.
Which one of those would you say had the most impact on you, as far as, was it their performance skills, their athletic skills, a combination of which one do you think had the most influence on you wanting to get into the business?
I think I'd probably have to believe it or not, I have to say Brett.
He's rocking the shirt. I see it.
Yeah.
Still the coolest wrestler because he was on The Simpsons. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, no, nobody else even. Yeah, no, nobody's even close. And I'm just like, why would I want a picture of a pitiful pencil neck geek?
Look, for those of you that did not grow up in the Attitude Era or even before that era, You go back and YouTube some Bret Hart stuff and look what wrestling was. Now, look, Bret can fly around the ring, but we're talking off the second turnbuckle. Not as gymnastically driven as a lot of the wrestling is today. But you want to talk about tell a story and make you believe? Dude, he is the look, even Ric Flair will tell you, best there is, best there was, the best there ever will be. And, they haven't always gotten along through the years, and I'm glad they've been able to patch some things up because, life is short. But you come from a very rich historic area that launched a lot of people that made it on the big time scale, but they cut their teeth right there in your backyard.
I'll tell you, I keep thinking to myself, what if I was able to hang around on Rocky Mountain Wrestling, and then because shoot, Lance Storm was there, Chris Jericho was there, man, I just keep thinking, where would I be,
So tell us a little bit about that. You started, you kind of tried to turn heads in Rocky Mountain Pro. How did that experience work for you? Were you there a while in training? How did you deal with that? You'll
never guess who my trainer really was, because this is what I was getting at, was that after my first, what I felt was disastrous night, because I didn't turn any heads, nobody looked at me, and I even did the splits on the ropes, and like Van Damme did and still nobody was everybody was kind of, I was just kind of like, what? Right. I'm just kind of, okay, fine. And then and then you'll never I went into Glenn's Lounge, because the Glenn's Lounge was basically the wrestlers' lounge that everybody went, the bar that everybody went to afterwards.
Right.
And I went, anyway, I showed up there, and after everybody, I was just kind of sort of feeling, kind of depressed a little, and then I bump into this big, huge dude, and dude's got bald, he's got scarred forehead and everything like that, and a goatee. I absolutely no idea who he was. I didn't recognize him, and there's a reason for that. It's because first of all, I'd never really seen his face, because, well, guess what? Turns out his face was always covered by a hockey mask. And we bump again. I bump into him, he bumps into me, and all of a sudden he looks at, oh, I'm sorry, I was just kind of, oh, I'm sorry, and then he looks at me, it's just like, it's you. What are you doing here? And I just kind of I'm sorry. And then all of a sudden he just goes, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but you look like a friend of mine from Japan, and I just kind of I didn't know how to take that at first.
Right. I'm like, wait, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing?
Yeah. And then it turns out, then he said, I said, I'm sorry. I'm just here to, talk to some wrestlers, and then see if I can, see if I can get going. And then he said, oh, you want to wrestle? Well, and then he kind of straightens up. He's kind of like, well, do you know who I am? And I just kind of and I honestly, part of me was just I was feeling really, really shit inside. Kind of oh crap, right. This is probably another guy that I should probably know. I'm and he said, oh, I'm Jason the Terrible. And I just kind of what? I just suddenly oh.
Yeah, but to be fair, you knew him with a hockey mask on. You weren't going to know him without that. So
and I guess he very rarely took the mask off. So at least from what I understand, okay. I guess I should say that. I shouldn't say that. I mean, because a lot of matches I know, he did take it off, but I mean, a lot of times your brain just Jason the Terrible hockey mask, and then that's all you. And anyway, we sat there talking, and then I sat there and I did the splits for him. He practically crapped his pants. He was just kind of the guy your side doing the splits, And then And then we just started talking, and shooting, actually, and some moves and everything. And I don't mean actually; I'm just talking talking.
Right.
And then suddenly, and then he said to me, he said, "Well, I'll tell you what. Next training night, I'll show up and we'll see what you're made of."
Okay.
And I was just, and then suddenly I was just like over the moon. I was just like, I'm like, oh man, and then anyway, skip ahead to the following training night, and then his real name is actually Carl Moffat.
Okay.
And anyway, he showed up, and he looks a little bit different, in just plain old sweats and a shirt. I don't know. It's weird, just seeing him in training clothes.
So he actually kept his word. He actually showed up the next time.
Oh yeah, he didn't just keep his word. He started to train me personally.
Well, there are the stories of say Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer, who was a wrestler in the 70s and 80s, who would famously take people's money to train them and then disappear in the middle of the night. And so it's good that here's a guy keeping his word and being true to who he is.
Yeah. He didn't just keep his word, but then he also said too that afterwards, I kind of said to him too, okay, let's go. One of the things I said to him was, we were sitting there just talking, and then he showed me, and I started running the ropes and everything like that. And, this is what. I'm sorry. I gotta rewind back to the first training night. This is what I said. This is where I thought I was being a disaster. But sorry, don't barf there. Sorry, my kitty was yakking up. Anyway, I never thought about this. This is why I thought I was not doing very good. I realized, around that time in 1993, that is the time when they would still try to test you. When you were, when they would. They turns out they were I didn't realize, but I guess it turns out that they were trying to break me, because they taught me how to run the ropes. But then when they were running the ropes, I was running the ropes one way, and then one guy was going the other way.
Okay.
But I wasn't stupid. When I was going back and forth, I noticed that the other guy had sped up a little, and he was trying to slam into me. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I just, and then he was trying to slam into me. So then all of a sudden I just went, I hit the deck, and not only did I hit the deck, but I kicked up one leg like that, and it tripped the guy, and he literally went right through the ropes.
Oh, wow.
And then then I kind of sat up and kind of, oh geez, I'm sorry, and then but then I didn't again, and I didn't realize, but then and then there's been there were a couple of other guys, Steve, crap, what was his name? Steve Wild, and he always wore a girdle, which I guess was probably his thing. He just in order to get heat, and he was managed by Louis L'Amour. That was his name. Obviously running off of the Western the Western author. Yeah.
Don't worry. The Earl is quite familiar with that author. Go ahead.
So anyway, Steve Wild. I remember him. What did he try? What was he trying to do now? I think he put me in a bear hug or something, and then I just kind of sort of just relaxed my body, and then he was just sitting there, he's just and I'm just kind of
right.
Is this supposed to hurt or something? And then And then he heard that, and he was just kind of, and then he went even harder, and then like, nope, and I just kind of, okay, and then he just kind of,
Wow, you blew him up. Wow, okay.
Sold it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there was another guy by the name of Marty. He often went. He's got a mustache too, and like balding and sort of like Hulk Hogan type hair, but it was brown, not blonde. And Marty also, he was also one of those, tried to break me, because they actually they're like sitting there like, oh, I guess this, like at one point there, I guess they did see me do the splits, and they're just going, oh, I guess this guy knows some martial arts. Okay, all right, and like, all right, and then like Marty challenged me to like just like a karate match, and then like. And then like I jump in there and then like I hold up my hands like this, and then like Marty's like, "Oh, High Fighter, okay," and like we're sitting there, and he does a couple of moves, and like I just like both left and right, and like he didn't hit me again. I'm thinking that we're just playing, and I didn't realize that no, they really were trying to break me, and like this killed me. Marty came up on me to do something, and then like I dodged underneath, and then like I came, and then like I lined up, and then like I did a side kick, a side kick to him, and then like he went to. And like I was actually aiming for a chest, but then all of a sudden, like I think he saw that coming. I was like, "Oh!" And then he turned sideways, and then like, surprise, he took it on his shoulder, and all of a sudden, like as soon as I hit his shoulder, like he went down like a ton of bricks, and like honest to God, I thought he was trying to blow me up or like trying to make me feel good, like, hey man, But then all of a sudden, like everybody's like. Everybody around the ring, that's like, holy crap, Marty, you okay? And Marty's like laying there, and all of a sudden, and then like turns out I dislocated his shoulder.
Oh my God! So you were laying it in as if you were really competing.
I didn't know what to think.
Okay, you know what?
But like what I do remember one thing, and it was like somebody slid into the ring, and then like Marty's like laying there, and he like with his arm out, and he's like pop it.
Oh gosh!
And then like dude lays down and puts his feet on his shoulder, and then also I kind of heard it, and then like I just kind of like, oh shit, I did, and
right,
and then like again, for I think it was probably the next 2 weeks, the next 2 shows, that is, Marty hurt himself at work. At least that's what they said, or at least that's what they announced.
Sure.
Yeah.
And anyway, after all that, and again, here I go to Glenn's lounge afterwards, and then see, that's where I'm just kind of like, here I am, it's like feeling like, oh, I guess I didn't do very good in my show. I mean, like dislocated a guy's shoulder, and then like a guy tried to give me a bear hug, and I wouldn't, like I wouldn't submit her or whatever, and and then like then they crisscross on the ropes, and then like accidentally trip the guy, and he goes flying through the ropes, and and then anyway, I relayed all this to Carl, the following night, and then Carl's just kind of like, and like almost laughing like Santa Claus,
right?
And then like he's like, what they were trying to do to you, right? You realize that, right? And then like he pats me on the shoulder, and I was just kind of like, no, what? He said, man, they were trying to break you, just like that's what the Harts were trying to do to me all those years ago, but I never gave in. And I just kind of like, really?
Well, down this way in Florida, there's the famous Hulk Hogan story, Hiro Matsuda, where he does a step over on him, and he just bent the leg until the knee snapped his ankle. There was no training involved. He's like, lay down, kid, and then just snaps it off and tells him to get out of his ring. But you know what?
Wow.
He came back as soon as he healed, and that impressed a lot of the folks there. Like, okay, there's something to this kid. But yeah, I mean, horror stories of people being stretched, and that means put in excruciating circumstances, and that's exactly what you're talking about. You really, in a way, defending yourself, not just for a spot in the business, but you don't want to get hurt either.
Yeah. Well, and then again, the other thing too is, I mean, like one of the other things too was like, the old take the chops to the chest, and like, and like again, I'm just kind of like, yeah, come on, I'm like, and yeah, and no, and like I said, the following Thursday night, Carl shows up, and he just runs me through some basic moves and everything, and then he said, and he was really impressed. He said, I want this guy. And then he told me the following night when we were in the bar, he said, we were just sitting there talking, and then I said, say, I talked to Biff, and, he's, I'm just kind of like, who do you pay? I mean, like, what, how much is it, and who do you pay? And then Carl patted me on the back, and he's just kind of like, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll take care of you, man. And wow. I will say this. I mean, for the amount of time that I was there, he did train me. Like, he trained me, and he told everybody to lay off me as well.
Oh, so he was looking out for you the entire time, not just training you, but kind of keeping the heat off of you from anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to hand it him for that, Oh, and we were just talking, we're like, running some moves and everything like that. And then, like, I happened to mention that I had this idea for a flying jump kick, like basically just a flying side kick off the top rope. And he was like, really? Okay, well, let's see you do it. And then he patted his chest, and I just kind of like, sure. And he's like, yeah, no, don't worry about it. So okay, so I climbed the top rope, jumped up there, and then all of a sudden, I mean, at this point, I'm not stupid. I know there's wrestling's a bit of a work, So like, I'm trying not to like smack him. I mean, like, because the other thing too is, I mean, like, it did occur to me, especially after dislocating Marty's shoulder. Yeah. I was like, maybe I shouldn't have, but I mean, like, on the one hand, I keep thinking to myself, well, maybe I shouldn't have hit him that hard. But then, like, Carl's like, no, you need to show yourself off to them, right? Because they need to know that they can't break you. And I'm just kind of like, yeah. But yeah. Anyway, I jumped off the top rope and did nailed Carl with like with a flying sidekick, and he went flying back, but then like he rolled with it, and like he went, did a back bump, and then like, he got up, he was like, holy shit, did you guys see that? And like everybody's watching too, and they said the same thing, like, holy crap, and like I just landed, nicely, like I didn't, it wasn't like a drop kick off the top rope, and then also like, it was a flying side kick, and
so,
then like.
So your skill set was very much in line with what Rob Van Dam was doing. Sounds like.
That bastard beat me to the punch. Yeah.
420, man. That's all I can say.
Now, I do have a question. Between your splits, which still I'm wincing because of that still, the splits and obviously the kick and the shoulder, the dislocation, the jumping kick off the turnbuckle. What's your bet? I mean, I saw when I clicked one of your things where it says Qi Gong. I'm not that familiar with that. Is that predominantly the only one, or do you have other martial arts you do? And why Qi Gong? Why mention that one? I saw there were a few reasons why, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to talk about it, because if it's one of the things that you put up in your bio, I'm pretty sure it's near and dear to your heart. So
It is.
So what exactly is it, and why do you do it? Why should I do it?
Well, Qigong is a way of keeping balance within your mind and your body and your spirit, which I know I just realized I'm echoing Sifu Tanaka in Bloodsport, but that is true. It is good. It is very good for the mind and the body. And then the other thing also is you'll find yourself able to get a lot more in control of things. I mean, like I have a friend of mine who's a fellow trucker. And in fact, if you see him, you'd be like, "He's a trucker, really?" But no, he is. He's been driving actually quite a lot longer than I have. But on the other side of the coin, I've actually been like schooled, whereas like he actually literally just like learned how to get his class 1, and then like he never took anything that I did. I mean, like I did things like I took a load securement course, took a PDIC, professional driver improvement course. Anyway, what I'm getting at was that he actually he's been dealing with a lot in his life, and he's actually a really, really, really smart dude. And I've been trying to get him into Qigong, and it's known as Qigong, like as in like Kung Fu or Qigong, or Qui-Gon, Qui-Gon. And it's a form of meditation, and if you can strengthen the body, I mean, you can think of it, you can think of like karate and taekwondo, Muay Thai. You can always think of those as like, the external martial arts, right? But no, I actually found, and especially this actually also comes because there's a lot of stuff in here that's like straight up out of Bloodsport, which is these are the external martial arts. Qigong or Qui-Gon is the internal martial arts in your mind. Like, I'll tell you, like even my Sifu was actually impressed when one of the focus exercises with Qigong is, believe it or not, putting a candle out with your eyes, energy you can send out of your eyes, and I did it within 2 weeks. And my Sifu, he was like, it took him like 2 months minimum, or sorry, it took him 6 months minimum to be able to do that. And like I'm not trying to brag. Okay, I am.
Go ahead.
But yeah, no, like I just learned to do it, and that's why. I mean, things like that. I mean, a perfect example. I mean, like Qigong is learning to develop your muscles, like, and like your actual muscles. Like, see, the best way to think of it is your own body is just like the Earth in that it's got its own gravity and anti-gravity. So like, and that's for example, like it's positive and negative energy. And there's so much in it that's I mean, like animal control, I mean, learning how to control animals, because animals sense your thoughts and your intention, which is also why, I mean, like when someone is scared around an animal catches that right off the bat. They're just like, and like, like but like if you stand them down and you're like, then like they look back and they realize that, this guy knows what's what.
Right.
You know? But that's just it with Qigong, like internal martial arts,
Were you studying this before you got into the business, or is it something you developed while you were in it?
I've actually known, yes, I've actually been practicing this since I was 16 years old.
So how big was that on you to be able to handle the mental stress of you being challenged a lot?
See, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think is, I'm not trying to, I think that's something that I have to credit Qui-Gon with, is that, the mental stress. Because here's the other thing I discovered too, is that way too many, even back in Rocky Mountain Wrestling days, way too many wrestlers turn around and take the chemical exit out of like, I was like, the body aches, but like me, no, I'd take a bath with Epsom salts and then watch, sort of thing. Whereas, as I said, far too many others would go the chemical route, just like pop some Percocets or something like that, which whereas again,
we've lost way too many people way too young.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
it's one thing when you hit your 70s, 80s, and 90s, you go, hey, they've lived a full life, but there's a laundry list of names we could mention that didn't make it past 45.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, and I do know this. We work in different lines of fields of entertainment and work, but I got to go home with me at the end of the day or at the end of the night.
Mm-hmm. That's
it's
right.
hard, man. If you don't have something to center yourself with, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. So for some it's religion, for some it's meditation or whatever. I'm happy if you're happy. Mm-hmm. But you gotta have something, because when it's just you by yourself, man, that's when life gets hard. Can you deal with that person that you're looking at in the mirror all the time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
So you go through the training. Let's fast forward a little bit. So you're actually getting to perform at Rocky Mountain Pro. Who was your first match against?
I actually didn't get around to performing. That's what I was getting at. Actually, was no, that's fine. I was actually riding my bike there and then I'd actually bumps, and I had a backpack on, right? And then I'd actually hit a curb, and which is funny because I used to be a BMX rider too, and I did all kinds of flips, tricks, and everything like that, So there's no reason why this shouldn't have been a problem, but I just wasn't paying attention, and then suddenly what? Going over the bars, and then I flipped, and then when I flipped, turns I was wearing my backpack with all my gear, right. And then and suddenly it just turns out, I think I'd slightly fractured or hurts my collarbone, but then as I said I was staying with my friends, and I remember going upstairs to make something to eat, and then I tripped on the top of the stair, and as I fell forward, and then
on that shoulder,
and then and then right then and there, I'm pretty sure that's where I busted my collarbone. And I went, and as a result, I told Carl that I was going to be back. I'll be back as soon as I get my collarbone mended, and he was like, "Oh, sure, no, that's fine," and then 2 months after that, Rocky Mountain Wrestling went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Which was kind of, I'm just kind of back home. back home here on the farm, and I'm just going, oh, shit, what do I do now? You know, and then here was the really lucky thing. Well, it wasn't that lucky, I guess. But I went into Cook County Saloon on the south side of Edmonton, and a new promotion by the name of Can-Am Wrestling, and they had this new young hotshot on there, a guy by the name of Teddy Hart.
Ah, the black sheep. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll let you go in as far as you want with that. I'll leave that for you.
Hey, you know what? I mean, like, honestly, I'm actually sad for the guy. Nowadays, I understand. I know how it feels to be the black sheep. Also, because, like, well, growing up in my school, I was literally the only colored person in the entire school. When you grow up in a community of Swedes and Ukrainians. Talk about being black sheep. There you go.
Well,
anyway,
I'll ask that question later after you finish the story. We'll come back to the question.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, like I said, I bumped afterwards. I was just like, I saw Ted Hart, and I was just like, whoa. He's like doing backflips, like he was doing all kinds of insane shit that I never ever saw anybody do. I mean, like, this was 1998. I'm just like, whoa. And then afterwards, I walked up to him and I shook his hand. I said, "Well, it's nice to finally meet one of the Harts." And then and then he looked at me. He's like, "Wow." And he said, "Well, thank you. Nice to meet you too." He said, "Yeah, you're a fan." I was like, "Oh, big fan." And then he said, then he looked at me and he was just kind of like, "You're big enough. You ever thought about being a pro wrestler?" I said, "That's exactly why I'm talking to you." And then Ted just kind of like, "Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well then." Anyway, Ted gave me his phone number. Well, technically, he gave the phone number at his dad's BJ's gym, and he said that he's usually there between 6 and 10 o'clock every night. And then I kept in touch with Teddy for the next 2 years, and anyway, I was actually mugged in 1997, and I got a settlement from not from the government. I guess the police have a victims assistance program, and I got something to the tune of $13,000 for not being killed. Yeah.
Here's your consolation prize, huh?
Yeah. Wow. But I mean, I will say though too, I was still keeping up with my meditations and my things, because that's one of the things I'm pretty sure would help. That helped keep me going, because like I got mugged by 5 drunken Indians. Yeah, how do you like that stereotype there? And I was like way up north, here in Alberta, Grand Prairie, Alberta, actually. And that was I'd gotten mugged and literally beaten to within an inch of my life. And even the police and the ambulance drivers were just kind of like, they were just like, "Oh my God," because they'd heard this guy was getting attacked, and like it was in the middle of the night, and I was walking home from a bouncing job, and I walked past sort of a rival bar. I don't even want to say it's a rival bar. It was just simply like other. I mean, because like how it is, like different bars and different people,
right.
Sort of thing. And yeah. Anyway, I got mugged, and then like on the bright side, they got arrested. On the downside, 2 of the guys turned what they call FBI statements in, which is, in other words, their statements can't be recanted even if they do. But by turning those statements in, they get off scot-free.
I see. So they got some level of immunity then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway. Long story short, all that I wound up with like $13,000 in my pocket. Now, really, honestly, the smart thing, what I really should have done, was like cut it in half and like put half of it in the bank. But no, I paid off my bills, and then I turned around to mom and dad, and I'm like, okay, bag over the shoulder. I'm moving to Calgary, and I'm going wrestling. So that's exactly what I did. I called up Teddy Hart, and I said, I want to pay for training. And like, here's the other thing. It actually only cost like $1,300 from Ted.
Really?
That's it. Yeah, just $1,300.
I mean, that's economical compared to some of the other horror stories that people will tell.
Oh yeah. So now I'm back down in Calgary, but this time I was quite surprised. I mean, like, I heard maybe I might be training in the dungeon, and like, there's part of you that always has that, that allure, that just kind of like that just there's just something about the dungeon and all that. But like, honestly, I kind of have to agree with Ted in that, well, the dungeon is just like a room in the basement. It's not even, I mean, like, it's matted, but I mean, like, it's nothing really special. I mean, because you can't practice anything off the ropes or anything like that. So, and like, when I got to BJ at the gym, turns out that BJ has a wrestling ring upstairs, and like an actual wrestling ring, and like a full size one too. And I was just kind of, I looked at him like, whoa, And not only that, but I mean, like, Ted also had a a big giant, like, I don't know, about 12 feet by 4 feet by 6 feet, a giant square gymnastics pad, and you could basically just pull that into the ring, and then you could practice anything, flips, even just like, hell, even just climbing up on top of the rope, and then like, and just landing onto it was
right.
Yeah, but I actually learned. I learned to do some moonsaults, and yeah, but I never actually. Although I will say I never got to the point though where I was able to do it without the crash pad though.
Well, listen, you are Mr. Splits. Did you try a split-legged moonsault?
No.
Okay, I was going to blame Rob Van Dam for stealing that from you too, but okay, we won't have to do that.
No, I never. Also, okay, no, he can have that one. I do, okay. But I have something that he never had, and that was, and I told this to Ted too, because I'd worked it out. I'd done it. I did it with a training dummy here on the farm, and that was, I called it the Thunder Bomb, which was a power bomb with the splits.
Oh, God. No, I don't want to.
Wait, okay, so I just want to make sure I got the picture. You flip the person up, and as you're going down, you're splitting your legs out. You drop and do the splits. Okay, so that would be like Ahmed Johnson being able to do the splits, which he hurt enough people. He hurt enough people. That would probably hurt him too. Yeah, brother, that's right. You're a better man than I could ever hope to be to even think about that. Let's pull it off.
It's given me new nightmares for tonight. Thank you for that.
my thighs are hurting. I'm sitting down. That's the age I'm at.
Now you said that you practiced this on the farm with the dummy. So how much work did you do at home before going initially? I mean, so you had a dummy made up. You practiced. So how much was this ingrained in you initially, I guess, while you were in high school even? I'll be honest. The whole idea of doing a power bomb with splits, it never even really occurred to me until like literally like about
99, and actually this was during the summer of the death of Owen, actually. May 1999. But during that time, I'm at home and I was like, practicing my martial arts in the basement, as well as my still doing my internal martial arts too. But I mean, like, I'd actually slid out of my qigong meditations at the time.
Mhm.
Or not at the time. When was it? About 2004. But anyway, that's like several years after. Anyway, like this is still 2000, and as I said, I started training with Teddy Hart, and here's another interesting thing. There were two tiny kids. Well, they were tiny at the time. Two tiny kids, me and one of the other guys who was training under Ted. Well, okay, they're just two skinny young kids, and they came into the ring watching me and I forget his name, but anyways, doesn't matter. He's inconsequential. One of the other trainees, and we were just running the ropes, and then like practicing dives and all that sort of stuff. And then Harry Smith and TJ Wilson were right there, and
the eventual Hart dynasty from WWE days. Yeah,
that's them.
Cool.
They're sitting, but they were just little tiny kids. I mean, Harry was this big at me now.
Harry has since overcome his tiny childlike start.
He used to be like this big on me. Now I'm like an inch shorter than him.
Right.
Good Lord.
Right.
I've actually even got. By the way, just as a quick side note, I even have pictures. Every time I see Harry, we always take a shot. Pictures together.
So, do you still have a relationship with him? If you don't mind me asking.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
I still talk. I still talk to him once in a blue moon. I say once in a blue moon because, he's always flying around and everything. And poor guy. He doesn't always have time to talk, but he does have time for a few words here and there. And he gave an endorsement on my book because I even mentioned Stu Hart in the early few chapters.
Nice.
But no.
It's very nice of you there to mention Stu. I like that. It's a terrible Stu, but I couldn't have an interview about Stampede and not try a terrible Stu imitation.
Yeah. So anyway, the two of them were sitting there and they're like, so hey, how long you guys been practicing? And we're just going, I don't know, we've been training for about a month and a half or something like that. Or no, it's about actually no. Let me change that again. We're just getting I don't know, about 2 weeks. And then Harry and TJ. Now, I mean, in retrospect, now I look back on it, I can see they look at each other, and then they said, "Hey, have you guys ever done a power bomb off the top ropes?" And then me and the other guy kind of sort of look at each other, and then we look over at Harry and TJ, and they're just going "Oh no, it's really easy." Oh yeah, they do. They kind of walk, explain it and everything. This, this, and this. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, no, but they're like, let's see, right. And I just kind of and then I look at the other guy, and then I said, well, tell you what, I sat there and crossed my arms, and I was just like, I learned best by example. and you guys say it's so easy.
Yeah.
And I said I motioned them up. Let's see you do it. And then oh man, again at this point, that's when their faces change. They're kind of and then they're just kind of And then TJ's just kind of, oh, well, I'm kind of sore from, and then Harry's just kind of, I kind of hurt my knee the other day.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of, yeah, sure you did, yeah. And I told that to Teddy later on. I told that to Teddy Hart later on, and then like Ted looked at me. He's like, "Really? They said that?" And then when I outlined the whole thing, and then I told Ted that my response to what they said, and Ted just kind of Ted chuckled, and he was kind of like, "All right." He was like, "All right, I'll tell them to lay off you." I don't know why. I mean, they like to try and test the new guys, though. And then but like Ted laughed, and he said, like, he looked at me, and he's just kind of like, "I knew there was something special about you." And it's like, I just known that from the beginning, and it's just like, but yeah. And time was, I worked, or as time progressed, working under Teddy. Here and there, I actually got to know his mom, because you see, turns out Ted's you probably knew this anyway, but like Ted's a Hart through his mom, not his dad. His dad is BJ Annis, who's a former bodybuilder, firefighter. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of things. Like, good for him. Yeah. But anyway, I happened to come by one Saturday, and Georgia was sitting there, and she said to me, "I'm like." Turns out, anyway, interesting, noteworthy thing was that this was actually right the Sunday right before Saturday, right before Easter, and George asks me, "Hey, we're just sitting there shooting the shit and everything like that." And all of a sudden she looks at me, she's like, "Well, what are you doing right now?" I was like, "Oh, well," I said, I was kind of thinking about, I wonder if I could bum some money so I could from somebody, so I could go home and go home to my parents for Easter, And then she was like, "Well, how would you like to meet my dad?" And I just kind of like, "Are you serious?" And she just kind of like, "Yeah, and I could just from the way she was saying it, I'm just like, I mean, she didn't come right out and say it, but she was kind of, I like you. You're a nice guy, And I just kind of like, wow, and like literally like, I follow, so like she got in her Navigator, and like I got in my car and followed. Wow, even just the journey, I'm just kind of like,
right,
and and like we're driving up to the Hart house, and like we come down that alley, and come down that street, like down the road, wind around, and then suddenly like. And then I even see that brick thing, Hart House, and I just kind of like, it's like, this is my Graceland,
right? Well, from my understanding, the house is even on the National Registry now. I believe that it actually is as a historical place.
That is pretty good. That's awesome. Anyway, we get there, and then like walk into the house, and then just instantly like George. I just wound up calling her George, just because like like Georgia. Georgia. Hey George, and. Anyway, we walk right into the house, and like, and then here's Stu sitting right in this kitchen table, and I was like, "Hello," and then like, Georgia instantly, like, "Hi, this is Rodney. He's training under Teddy," and then immediately Stu kind of gets up and he kind of sizes me up, and he's just kind of, "Oh. You must be. Yeah, you look to me about the same size as Morris there." Now when he's saying Morris, he's actually talking about Red Thunder.
Okay.
Yeah, and and then like he shook my hand, and then like good Lord, his hands were huge. You know, the Premier of Alberta, Ralph Klein, who was actually at one time he was the mayor of Calgary. But then, like, you know, Ralph Klein, when he was, you know, when he was premier, i.e., governor of Alberta, he once remarked, and this is one of I love this thing. You know, he said he once remarked that Stu Hart had hands as big as toilet seats, and he's absolutely right. Like, oh my God, I mean, like, I have decent sized hands, but I mean, like, good Lord, Stu had like
So I can see that if he ever got you in his grips, he could manipulate your body in ways to
oh yeah,
find
I mean,
your
like,
pain tolerance.
yeah. I have pretty big shoulders, but like he'd just sit there and just like, you know, like hold on to it like it's a grapefruit. Like,
golly, I can't even. You're not getting away. He's got you.
yeah.
Can you catch that jet flap from that?
No,
Sorry, what? Cut out there.
Imagine a jet flap from that hand. One of the chops.
Oh.
Nope.
Oh my God! Yeah, just yeah.
Well, you know, I remember Gary Hart, the former manager, now deceased, talking about taking chops from Ric Flair night after night after night, and he and Terry Funk putting the Vaseline on their chest because he would just chop them until they bled. You know,
right? Yeah.
I can't imagine Stu chopping me. No, thank you. I'm good.
Oh, I hear you. Oh no, me too. I wouldn't give up though. Like, I'm one of those guys.
No, look, they're not running you off. You're in this for the long haul.
No. I'm just no. But like, trust me. Like, if there's anybody who would make me, you know, make me want to rethink my, you know, career choice, it would be him.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for those who don't know, Georgia, that is Brett's sister, correct?
Yeah, she's one of the. She's the eldest of all the Hart sisters.
Okay.
Yeah, there's Georgia, Allison, Diane, and the third one.
The third one. That's fine.
It's been a long time.
We'll call her number 3.
So are you officially retired from your professional career, or is this still something that is always on the back burner that you're like, well, if the circumstances are right?
Here's what I want to do. I don't. I mean, like, I'm pretty much retired, but there's one thing I would like to do, you know, and that is, if I can do this, then I can retire and then like let somebody else, you know. And that is, I want the Thunderball on tape, and then I want to be able to put it up on YouTube, and then like people can sit there and just like, he was the first, you know, to do it. You know, I'm like, after that, somebody else can do it. Fine, you know, cool, you know. But I want something like, I was the first to think of this, you know, because it's not just being able to do the splits, you know, like it's not just the flexibility. It's also like the raw power. I'm not, you know, I mean, like, you know, I'm pretty sizable now. You know, I mean, like right now I'm sitting at like 285, and frankly, I actually want to drop myself down to like 270-ish, you know, or below. But the point, what I really want to do is just to be able to, like, I could retire and like be, or I could be. I'm retired right now, but I mean, like, I could stay retired if I did this one thing, you know. Then I'd be completely happy, because then I know, like, even the professionals in, you know, even in WWE, because Ted actually did mention to Vince McMahon about somebody. He had a big native guy who was flexible enough to do the splits, and he could do a power bomb with the splits, and Vince McMahon just like, really, you know, No,
Right.
maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't actually tell him. I mean, because we all know like the shaky thing, like ground Ted had, but he didn't. It wasn't shaky back then.
Right.
Anyway,
So I would like to offer up the Earl to work with you on that. If we can get him across the border, I'm sure he could take that. He can take that bump. I'm pretty sure. Earl.
Sure.
You get me up here, I'll take the bump.
If I'd do it too. If he can get me up, whatever happens after that. Because you know what?
Because I would be like, I was the first person power bombed by the guy who did the power bomb split. I was attracted 6 weeks after that, but you know what? It was worth it.
Everybody needs a claim to fame, and that could be yours.
Yeah.
And I could be the guy who recorded the guy who got power bombed by the guy. See, it all works out. Beautiful collaboration.
See, even Rob Van Dam couldn't do that. That's what I mean, like, I can't believe nobody thought about doing the splits with like anything. I mean, like,
right.
And funnily enough, I mean, like, I don't know, I haven't seen anyone do the splits since Rob Van Dam.
So let me ask you this, Rod. What was, they have different terms for it in wrestling, a finisher. What was your signature move that would have put your opponent away?
That actually, but I actually had a submission. Yeah, I actually had a submission hold too.
Okay.
And I don't get it. I've heard, so it's apparently an actual wrestling move. I mean, like, the one guy I did use it on, and I was being very, very, trust me, I was being very, very gentle. But he was like, yeah, fucking hurt. And that was, my submission hold was, my opponent was laying prone on the ground, like right in front of me. And then I'd walk around in front, I'd walk around, and then like what I would do is I would kneel on one, get myself down on one knee, and then what I'd do is I'd put the other knee right there.
Okay. All right.
Like, I mean, I'd be standing right over his head. And then what I would do is I would grab his arms, and then with a knee in the middle of his back, I would pull up on his arms. Well, I mean, I wouldn't really pull up on his arms, but I would just pull up enough to make it look like him, And came up with that one. I call it the wishbone.
Why not? It's kind of a modified camel clutch, just with a knee to the back.
With a knee, knee to the wall. See, as I said, I mean, like, guys like land in front of me, and then like I'm standing in front of him.
Okay, so you're facing like
I had you behind him.
No. Yeah, that's right. He's right in front of me, right? And then like I'm standing over him, right? And then like I bend down and I put one knee in the middle of, and like he's on his stomach. Yeah, he's on his stomach in front of me. And then like as I said, I would kneel and put my right knee right here.
Yeah.
And then I grab the arm.
Now, Rod, we're going to learn a little bit about you. We're going to go behind the scenes here. When the submission is signaled for, because the person can't tap, they're just going to have to quit. Do you break the hold immediately, or are you going to wait a second or two or three before you break the hold? What kind of person are you?
Keep the hold.
I know you would, Earl. You keep the hold on, like the count of four. I know.
You're probably thinking of Rodd Blackheart, not Rodd Thunderheart.
I'm just asking because you know what? Sometimes people, they go through transitions, they become a little more aggressive than they normally would be. So where would you fall on the spectrum? Would you be the guy that would let people go pretty quickly?
I'd be the guy I'd let people go pretty quickly. Because I'm a nice guy, and like, you know what? For me, the very fact that, I mean, like, because, okay, yeah, you're right. He can't use his arms to like So but on the other side of the coin, I mean, he can still You can still dog paddle. You can still dog paddle with his feet and just say, okay. You know, and plus, like Cephas, he can still talk.
Right.
That's it. Yeah. So you're saying that you would be like the wishbone on Thanksgiving. Pop. That's the answer I was looking for. But I'm the heel announcer.
You literally are. Hey, Rodd, let me ask you something. Do you watch the current product at all?
I think that probably says it all.
Yeah, so we can move on from that line of questioning. That was that. So let me ask you this: if a young person came to you and said, "Hey, I heard you were in the wrestling business," what would be the biggest piece of advice you'd give someone that truly wanted to get into it? Not everybody wants to get rich or everybody wants to chase ladies or whatever. But they really wanted to get into wrestling. What would be the one piece of advice that you would give somebody?
I would say don't.
Fair enough.
No, actually, because if somebody wants it bad enough, they're gonna they're gonna do it anyway, you know. And so, but I mean, carried on. But I mean, say don't, and then like go from there. You know, I mean, like if they turn around and go home, then like, okay,
that's right after them.
That pretty much says it. See, what I'm saying is that shows you how strong their desire is. You know, because like if you tell them don't and they still try to, then like there you go. I mean, first of all, that's already that first spark. You know, I mean, I personally, yeah, you know.
So like you well, see, he got put to the test early on. His was more physical, but he's talking about, hey, let's start with the very simple. If you can't handle rejection, forget the physical. You've already lost the battle because mentally you're not there.
If you can't handle rejection, go back to high school.
Well, yeah. If high school hasn't taught you to be rejected, I don't know when you're going to learn it.
Exactly.
All right, Rodd. Well, let's transition out of that. One of the interesting things, and by the way, the Earl picked up your book tonight. He was fascinated by it.
Thank you.
But Rodd is a published author, and dude, we want to give you some time to talk about your project, share it out with the people. We're going to drop everything in the description so you can order it, take a look at it, peruse Rodd's channel, and get in touch with him. But tell us a little bit about this author thing that you've been doing.
All right. Yeah. Well, I actually, you know, as long as I can remember way back, you know, in fact, even back in grade 8. Grade 8. Wow.
Grade 8.
Way back. Let's see. That was 1986. Holy cow. Oof.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna date myself. Way back in 1986.
Back in my day. When nothing was colorized. Yes, go ahead.
And we walked uphill to school both ways.
Both ways. In the snow, even in the summertime. Yes.
Yeah.
I understand.
No. Yeah, anyway. No, I was, anyway, way back in high school, even junior high, I actually I won the Halloween story writing contest. And I actually wrote it with it was a really cool story. It was kind of a zombie type movie, story. And what I did was, unlike everybody else would sort of make like actual like fictitious, you know, but what made my story special was that I made it like right in school, and I made it with our class, and I included cameos literally from everybody, and like, oh my god, just blew up. Yeah, it just blew up. Everybody just like, they loved it. What was funny was that, but like, I wrote it in first, while it was in first person, you know, like I kind of wrote it in third person so that people had a loose idea of who it might have been, but they couldn't. But like, I never named myself. You know, right. I named one or two of the people that I was with, but I mean, like, a couple of the people are like the two people that I did actually name they were like basically friends with everybody in school or everybody in class. So it wasn't like they could sit there and kind of like, it's him. No,
Yeah.
because because generally, people are, high school is cliquey, but no, like these two people were like, best friends and hung out with everybody in the class. So that's where, anyway, this story, as I said, it blew up, and as a result of that, I was like, you know what, I'd like to write for a living, and I even actually started writing a story way back when. I called it Snowhawk, the Super Snowmobile, because you guys remember? You guys remember Knight Rider?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
No one can forget the Hoth. Okay.
Yeah. So I came up with this story of Snowhawk, and like it was basically a Canadian, but instead of like in the States, it would be a Canadian, and it would be a snowmobile instead of like a robotic car, But then somehow I just literally hit writer's block on like my second chapter, and then also but I had a dream way back in grade 10, and it was actually about it was literally like we had a substitute science teacher, and really good looking, and which we did actually, and it was about her, and she in my dream she called she was mad at me and a couple of other people and a couple of the other guys, the same guys in my story, and then like after the class like she told us to stay after class, and then like after the class left, she got really angry and turned invisible, and then of course it scared the crap out of all of us,
Right.
And well, guess what? That is chapter 1 of my book.
That's awesome.
Wow. So all the way back then.
Yeah. Funny thing is, I never thought about turning it into a book or anything like that. But then, like in 2003, I believe it was, I was flirting with this one girl, but I didn't want to come on too strong. So email was starting to become a big thing. I said to myself, can I get her email? And then so she gave me her email, and then I came up with the idea of this is actually the precursor. This is where Rodd's rants started, and I'm gonna revive Rodd's rants and start ranting online, but. And then not only Rodd's rants, but then I also started writing short stories. I just had an email list. I don't know. I must have had 6-8 people, and then and so then I started writing these little short stories that I would send to all my friends. They're like, "Hey, this is cool! Oh my god, I love this!" And then I started writing a story called "The New Gym Teacher," and it was and then I'd actually had that dream again way back from high school, because when I was writing all these stories, I was suddenly I started to get inspired, and I thought, and then suddenly I had this dream again, and I'm just kind of like, hey, what if I made so I wrote my dream into chapter 1, and then now originally the new gym teacher was only supposed to be 4, 5, 6 chapters, and then suddenly I saw where it could go, and I was just kind of and I'm like, oh wow, and so I went on to by the time I'd gotten to chapter 9 or chapter 10, a couple of my friends said, hey, you should publish this, and I'm just kind of I'm like, why don't I publish this?
Yeah.
And then and then now of course it's just self-published, but I mean you all got to start somewhere. And here's the number one thing. And like I did a lot of shopping around for like self-publishers. And here's the number one thing that made me jump on board with Friesen Press. Friesen Press, they no longer have the rights anymore, but they had the rights to the original Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Really?
That,
Wow.
yes. And that is what sold me right there. I was like, oh no, I'm going with them. Absolutely. And like, and I mean, like, JK, I mean, like, by the time I was published, the very first time when my book had finally come out way back in 2014, but it was cool. I mean, because like Friesen Press, they still had the rights to the original Harry Potter. Well, they didn't have the rights. It's just J.K. Rowling still had. I mean, because this is what I like about self-publishing is you own 100% of the rights.
Yeah.
And that's just it. I mean, like J.K. Rowling tried with all these other publishers, and Friesen Press was the only one who just like, yeah, let's go with it, and like, but yeah, no, like at one point there, like my book when it had just published was on the same. Well, it wasn't like they weren't side by side, but it was it was on the same place with Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Okay.
Well, you have Rodd's Rants, I guess, coming back. What else? What other projects do you have in the pipeline? I know you have a channel that you're going to be doing more on as well.
Yes, that's right.
Cool. And we've had that rolling here on the screen at the bottom, so you can absolutely find him on YouTube at Rodd Thunderheart. 2 Ds on the YouTube channel, 1 D on Twitter. It's ROD Thunderheart on Twitter.
Thanks.
Yep. Hey, we try to double check for accuracy every chance we get, so we do try. Earl, do you have anything else you want to mention or talk about?
Well, I would ask, as far as the book, do you have another one coming? Do you have a different idea? Or is that something you're still wanting to move forward on?
See Through Love is just first of all to explain it. It's a romance, martial arts, science fiction, comedy, drama, and spy thriller, all mixed into one. Now, just as a quick thing here, here I was thinking, hey, I'm right on. I'm like breaking barriers and all that, right? And then my editor literally slapped me upside the face. Well, not literally, but like slapped me upside the face.
I was going to say, I'm not hitting you, dude. You're going to hit back very hard.
If that had happened, it'd be like, we already have our first recording of the Thunder Bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
But she said to me, "Oh, that's really great. That's awesome. So where does the library or where does the bookstore put it?" And I'm like, what? And I just suddenly I'm just like, I mean, but you know what? I still don't care. And I'd rather, okay, put it in martial arts, or sorry, don't put it in martial arts. Well, no, put it in martial arts because, okay, I'll just See Through Love. It's the story of Carolina Dominguez. She's a Spanish teacher. She's a Brazilian Spanish teacher who can become invisible when she's angry, but when she's aroused, it happens like it or not. And of course, you can probably imagine that comes with a whole lot of personal problems. So therefore, she has all but nothing of a social life. And then she's really shocked to discover that the new gym teacher, not only is she shocked to discover that the new gym teacher, not only is he blind, but he can see her when she's invisible. And yeah, and see, the whole reason why also is because this is also based on Qigong, which is the male protagonist. He practices Qigong, and therefore he's blind, yes, but he can feel. He sees by feeling everything, And this is a principle actually of Qigong, and that is that absolutely everything see my cat there.
Aw. Look at the princess, yes.
Yeah. Animals, solid wood, everything has its own energy, its own ambient energy, so you can feel it. Here's nothing like if you were to sit there and hold your hand in between, you would feel energy radiating between my hands.
Right.
If you put your palm out like this, and then I went like this, trust me, you'd feel it. And actually, not only that, but I can vary the intensity and strength of the energy that my hands and palms are generating. If you remember when Jean-Claude Van Damme, did the dim mock, right? That's real. Maybe they played it up on television or on the movie, yes. But no, he actually, in theory, I say in theory because, again, the movie doesn't. In theory, he placed his hand on the top brick, and then when he hit the top brick, he sent energy down through each brick that would crush each of the bricks, or crush the brick that he wanted to crush.
Right.
The dim mock is real.
Cool, dude.
Well, I know that.
Sorry, that's upside down.
Okay.
Oh, now I can read. I thought it was in a different language, and I was going to be like, I don't want to be embarrassed that I can't read English, but there's anything else.
I'm sorry. No, I'm like, oh shit, it's upside down.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, no. See,
Well,
and then
it's funny. Gotcha. Well, what's funny is a few decades ago, science actually caught up, and they realized that what you're saying is actually accurate. Everything does have its own energy field because, you'd have these Tibetan monks who are like, we can, do this and, purifying themselves. And you have these over here with Tai Chi and these over here with the chakras with the, and so there are different, techniques, I guess I would probably put it. But science was able to find that we do have a, we're what is it? When you're looking at us through night vision, thermal radiation, we radiate, but we also have an energy field. And it's funny that science actually was able to catch up and actually, we can now see that this is completely accurate. So what things are being told for thousands of years, there's a scientific proof that this is actually accurate information.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So
cool.
that's why, and that's why it's based in reality. It's not. This isn't this isn't Daredevil. Let's face it. Technically, the story is the Invisible Woman, falling in love with Daredevil. But mine is based in actual reality. Whereas, Daredevil is just blinded through some magical, and then he can see through some magical radar sense. But no, this is real. Feeling everything through its own, through its own energy produced. Now, anyway, that's what I say. There's romance in it. There's martial arts because not only is Carolina. Can she become invisible? But also, when she was burnt, when she was younger, her mama gave her the remedy, which turned her invisible. But then her papi, he taught her capoeira because he's a capoeira maestro, a master of the Brazilian martial art, and. So she can't just turn invisible and all that. She could just kick your ass just with her own martial art. Never mind turning invisible.
Yeah.
And there's history. There's even history incorporated in it as well. And then it also occurred to me too that when I was mostly done, I thought to myself, hey, wait a minute. I had ideas for like books down the line. So I've actually got See Through Love 2 Pyro, which I'm hoping to finish within the next couple of months. See Through Love 3, The Cuban Assassin, which nod to yes, The Cuban Assassin. And
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Yes.
And then See Through Love 4, The Craft, which is actually going to be very similar to. Do you remember The Craft from 1996?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's basically going to be that, but I'm going to be making my own version of it. And then and See Through Love 5 is going to be Invisible Femme Fatale, and 5 is going to be the story of some Southern belle based on Arwen Avalon. Arwen Avalon? No, I asked. I was talking to her and like everything. I'm like, and suddenly like just hearing her Southern belle voice and everything.
Right.
It's just something. It's just like it just hit me. I'm just like, I'm like, and she admitted too. Like, yeah, she has a little sort of like a bit of a, a bit of a fire in her. So she's and I realized. Do you mind? I have an idea for a new villain in my fifth book. And I explained to her about it's a Southern belle who she's working at a lab and everything, and then like through all these guys trying to hit on her, and then she gets into a lab accident, and then again through some incompetent boobs trying to hit on her, and then she gets gets turned invisible. But unlike Carolina, she's invisible permanently. And as a result, she actually goes on a murderous rampage of all her former boyfriends who turned her down, or just simply were just complete assholes. And again, she absolutely loves it. She said she can't wait to read it.
Cool.
Before I do, I was just letting you know that I put your book. It's on my reading list. So hopefully in a couple of weeks I'll be able to hit it. And once I read it, I will throw up a review with your link and information, and I'll make sure I tag you in it so that you have that.
Thanks. I'd like to point out too that you probably noticed, but the ebook format is just 99 pennies.
Yep. So let's get 100,000 of us to buy one.
Absolutely. Well, Rodd, we appreciate you coming out on a Monday night and spending time with us, recounting some of your stories in wrestling. We hope you had a good time, because we'd love to have you back. I think there's still a lot of stuff we'd like to mine and talk with you, and hopefully pester you a little bit about. And if we can ever support
Not
you
at all.
and what you're
I don't
doing,
mind at all.
We would love to work with you as well.
I've still got it. Yeah, I've still got quite a bit in the pipe to explain about it too. Because the following Easter, I was invited to Easter dinner with the Hart family, and even George admitted to me later that she told me that she couldn't believe that the family opened themselves up to me, because it was the first Easter after Owen died, and it's quite surprising that they invited me in.
So I have two final questions for you.
Sure.
And you can answer this any way you want. Let me try and phrase it right. When wrestling is being done right, what? Fill in the rest of it. When wrestling is being done correctly, take it from there. How would you answer that? What would it look like? What should it sound like? What should it feel like?
Nobody gets hurt. The crowd is almost just about never sitting down, and the fact that absolutely everybody goes home happy.
All right. And my final question, and I will reference Bobby the Brain Heenan, who was one of the most creative wrestling personalities to ever live. No one's touching him. But he did a shoot interview where he said basically, you can't be a bad guy anymore, because after you've thrown somebody through a wood chipper, What are people going to come back next week to see you do? And so I just want to ask you, because we're longtime wrestling fans too. We just never got in the business like you did. Is it possible to make people believe again, or is that cat out of the bag, or is it to some varying degree? And I hate to hit you with a hard one, but I just want to get your opinion.
No, because you kind of you stumped me too, because also because and like it's hard to say that, because like sometimes even I don't believe anymore, but at the same time I will say that I do go visit my buddy Squig. He goes by the name Steven, or Steven Styles, and he runs. In fact, I could probably send you some links to it's called Real Canadian RCW, Real Canadian Wrestling.
All right.
And I've been there, and I've actually appeared in a couple of their shows. And with Red Thunder and with Wavell Star. I don't know if you
I have heard.
Both of them were actually in Stampede back in the late 90s and even like 2000s. Because like Stampede was starting to blow up again in 2000. And that was another perk of training with Ted, was that I was able to go to the cards for free.
Oh.
Yeah. But I think it can. I think it can, with the right people and the right formula. Another thing too is like we need to make people believe again, in the same way Bret Hart did. Technical master. Ted. Brett. For example, Brett would focus on one leg. Or like on the legs. And then when the guy gets up, and he's like, oh, and you can see like his leg would hurt, stuff like that, or like arms, or like, but right now, I think real professional wrestling, like as in like the bigs, it needs to find its way, because like, I have to say too, and just as a quick side note, I have to say I really find it funny. I still have an old Mad magazine just in the other room. It actually predicted. They actually predicted that wrestling would the results would be not only predetermined, but like it would be it would be made public. The results. Yeah. Despite this, people would still continue to place huge bets on the outcome of each wrestling match.
I don't know if you saw the news, but WWE this past week reached out to the Indiana Gaming Commission, wanting to get wagering on professional wrestling.
Yeah, actually, that's actually what I was referring to. But yeah.
Well, that works really good until they change the finish 10 minutes before the match. I missed my bet. Oh, it's just schmoz. It's a disqualification. Well, who won? I'm not sure. What are the rules? Who wins on this? Yeah. I don't know, man. But
no, I'm with you on that one though. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Well, Rod, thank you for joining us. You can find his stuff, youtube.com, at Rodd Thunderheart. Remember, 2 Ds on YouTube, Rodd Thunderheart on Twitter, 1 D, ROD Thunderheart. You can find him there.
Thank you.
Brother, thank you for being here, sharing with us, and we look forward to a whole bunch more recordings on down the road. For the Earl of Florida, I'm the Lord Cephas. Absolutely. We'll see everybody next time. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.